Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. This is going to be my first video in a series of videos where I am joining the Junk Journal January Challenge of 2024. This challenge is hosted by Meg Journals, so I'll put a link to the introductory video in the description box below. This is a very tiny little printout that I have of all of the prompts for the 31 days of January that will be given to inspire people to include in their journals or to work through their journals. Of course, it's just a challenge. No one has to follow every single one of these prompts, but I'm going to give my try at it. This is the first year in participating in the challenge. And for this particular challenge, I'm going to be using this tiny journal that I picked up at the bookstore last summer. And it had quite a few pages because it's basically just a little writing journal. But I've taken most of the pages out and I still don't even know if I'm going to be using all of these. It just depends on what I do with the prompts and how that goes. But my thinking is that I might, put this somehow into the cover of or onto the cover of the journal there, just to document that I was participating in this challenge, and that's what's going to be included in this journal. I'm starting with an introductory page because I just want to have a dashboard or a title page, if you will, to go in my journal. And so that's what you see here. This journal is going to be more of a mood journal or just an art journal, if you will. It's not going to be something that I particularly write in as a diary or my thoughts or anything like that. And I'm not really necessarily going to be documenting or memory keeping, other than that it applies to maybe the prompts. And so this is just going to be kind of a process video and just showing you how I have interpreted the prompts that are included. So also there is a group of collaborators who have been asked to participate and give their take on the daily prompts. And so when you watch that introductory video, you can see the link to the prompts. There's a little printout that you can, this little printout here, and then there's also one that has a picture and the name of the YouTube channel of all those who are collaborating. And so I have been watching. It is 7 days into the challenge. It's the 7th day of January. I am getting a bit of a late start. You know, I had a full house. I got two brown pages there. I had a full house for Christmas, and then I had company after Christmas, and so because of that, it's just taken me a while to begin my January crafting. But I have been following along as best as I can, and just going to go ahead and trim this up just a little bit there. And the items that are going to be in here are just going to be just scraps and what I can find. So this is just a scrap of paper I had in my stash. I have these leftover pieces of rub-ons. And so because of that, I thought it might be fun to add them to this page. So you can see that I'm just sticking the rub-ons and trimming off the sides of the page where that hangs over, and then I even take those little pieces I cut off and put them on the edges of the page. Unfortunately, that top right corner, most of that gets covered up, but overall I'm happy with the way it's turned out, and I just need to punch the holes again where the film of that rub-on is sticking through. So I've gone ahead and prepared some of the elements that I'm placing on the page. This is just a strip of ephemera that I cut out from one of the Tim Holtz background papers. And then I've added these letter stickers and created the word January. And these stickers I've had on my stash, they are from Stickopotamus, but I've had these for a very long time. And so now I've decided that I'm going to add a little bit of lace there. And so I have a big piece of ruffled lace and I've just ripped off the piece that I'm going to put on the page and just have it on the edge there. So now I've just taken one of the extra sheets of pages and just ripped it into strips, and I'm going to set those to aside. Maybe I'll use them later. And I'm just going to place this one over the edge of the lace, kind of a little bit more to the right than center of the page. So this January strip, I think I'm going to flush it to the right of the page, but I still think it's a little too much or too long, so I'm going to trim that little bit off there and save that in case I want to use a little piece somewhere else. And I've been inking everything in this vintage photo, and for this project it really doesn't matter if it's distress oxide or the ink, distress ink, but this is just what I happen to have on hand, and so um, I'll be using that throughout the journal. And then the craft paper that I've ripped to go down the center here just seems a little too stark of a contrast for me and maybe just sticks out just a little too much. So I eventually decide to whitewash the paper. So now I've gone ahead and glued that on, and I did a zigzag stitch across the top of my January ephemera, and I also sewed it on the right side of the page. And then I did die cut some clock hands using a graphic 45 die. And then I was trying to decide which wax to use. I end up using the vintage wax or vintage gold wax from Prima. And I'm going to just cover the clock hands that are already printed onto that paper. And then once I do that, I'm going to add this gear to the top like so. But I don't want to glue anything down yet because it will be too bulky when I work on the other side of the page. I'm just kind of doing a dry fit, seeing exactly where I want it to be. I thought the clock needed a little extra pop, so I punched out a couple of circles and glued them together, glued them to the back of the clock, and then just trimmed around the edges and went ahead and inked that clock up again with the vintage photo. And that just gave it just enough um, dimensions so that it didn't quite look so flat on the page. So you can see here that I've also added some green lace to the top and bottom of my January ephemera piece. So I've die cut some leaves from some digital papers. So the first prompt is resolutions, and as I was contemplating what new goals or things I would like to do for the year, I decided to look up the definition of resolution. And it really intrigued me because it it spoke of resolution as being very determined and strong-willed and um, I don't know, just all these things. And it made me think that a resolution isn't just something new that we tried to accomplish for the year, but it's also a way to be or a way to act. And so I just really liked the idea of keeping that in mind as I do try to improve myself throughout the year rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to do this and that, really focus on my strength of character rather than just what I'm accomplishing. And so, anyway, because my journal is so small, to fit that definition on there, it pretty much I knew it was going to take up the whole page. I didn't want the writing to be so tiny I really couldn't read it well. So I added some background paper, and it's actually like dictionary paper. I wanted to put this tab on there, but I didn't want it covering up the other side, so I'm going to go ahead and include that in between the base of base page and this backing paper. So I'm going to go ahead and give this tag a whitewash. And then also where the holes are, there was a little bit of pink in that paper, but where the holes are, I went and added some pink Tim Holtz ink, and I think it was spun sugar or something like that, and just kind of lightly brushed that over the holes just to give it the look that it's a totally separate part of the page. And so I go ahead and whitewash and glue my tag on, and then I decide to go ahead and sew a line or sew a stitch between where the holes are and the rest of the page. So once I put the tab on the page, then I go ahead and add a little bit of lace, and I would like to add a little bit of trim, so I'm adding these pieces and I haven't quite decided what I want to put on the tab on this side. I don't really want to put a word since I have the definition on that page. So I'll just come back to that. And now I'm ready to go ahead and put the embellishments on the other side. So I have my first two pages done. I have my title page or my dashboard, if you will. And then I have written 2024 on the tab there. And then I still haven't decided what to put on this back tab. I've added this little butterfly and ready to go on the next page. And now the next prompt is quote. And I already have this large definition on this page, so I wasn't really wanting to have, a long quote on this page. And so I have this paper where I cut out the clock here, and there's a lot of quotes from Jules Verne on this paper. So I thought, well, they're ready to go and ready to use. So I just cut a couple of them out that I thought kind of worked with the theme of January or a new year or a new adventure or something positive. And then we have this one that says, the future is but the present, a little farther on. And so I thought maybe I could do some type of collaging or whatnot and add this to the page somewhere. And add, some kind of a larger embellishment in the center there. So that's my thinking, and I'm going to go ahead and uh, just experiment with some ideas, and I will be right back. All right, so I have done some prepping, and I decided I wanted to make this kind of a layout and continue on with the same paper and the same style. I have added the spun sugar on the edge. I wasn't able to get it right on that edge like I did last time. I was really having a hard time getting it on. My pad's a little dry. And then I went ahead and did the stitching down the side again just to make it look like a cute little layout. And then I've decided to use this quote, and I fussy cut this out, and then I backed it onto some lightweight chipboard just to give it a little bit of dimension. And so I think I'm just going to go ahead and start by gluing this onto my base. All right, so I do have a bit of lace on the page here, so I thought I'd carry that on this side. And so I was thinking that I would put it here as just a layer underneath the quote. And then I have some butterflies. These butterflies that I have in this little bag are from Simple Stories from, I can't remember the collection, but I just had a whole bunch of them. So I thought it would be fun to use those. And I love butterflies. I don't know, there's just something about butterflies on the page that just makes me happy. And this is all about just a journal just for fun and to enjoy creating. So I'm going to use something I enjoy using. Okay, that's fine, but I still feel like I'm going to take another little bit of this yarn that I cut and do I want it up here like that? It's just really random. I don't know. Is that too much? I think I'm gonna have to cover the bee a little bit because that's just up too high. You know, I feel like it still needs something, so I'm going to, all I've got is this little bit left of the whitewash paper, but maybe this is enough. I don't know. I don't know. I was thinking of writing Jules Verne on the paper in this little blank spot here on the page, but now I'm thinking, what if I wrote it on this? I really like this yarn trim. It looks like I've done stitching on it, like I've stitched that yarn onto the page. It's really cool. I just feel like I maybe got that a little crooked. So that's it for this video. I'm going to stop here. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? Have you ever made a journal this small? What do you think about the prompts so far? Also, I'd like to invite you to subscribe and join me for my upcoming videos, and hitting that like button will be greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching.